Okay.
He looked like you were gonna sit on his lap. I was like, wait a minute.
I ain't no Santa Claus, I'll tell you that much.
Do we make that the beginning or no?
Yes,
100%.
100%?
That was
Okay.
hilarious.
All right, welcome
We
to
are
the
here
Radiant Media Podcast.
with our first guest.
Hello.
What's your name?
I'm Nathaniel.
Here, pick a mic.
I'll pick this one because it's closer to me. I'm Nathaniel. You can just call me Nate. And in terms of radio media, I do the sales department.
Hold on. I don't think the mic's. Yeah, you gotta get closer to the mic. I don't think it's picking up. Okay, say that again.
Nate, and I do primarily the sales department of Radio Media. So I am the person who comes with my beautiful little face, and I talk to you
I don't
guys
think
about
the
how
mic's
much you need
picking up.
us.
Look at the mic.
Wait, say one more thing.
Bazinga.
Well, now it is, but when you were talking over there, like talk again.
Yeah, just try to make sure it's
Bazinga.
close to your face.
Yeah.
Just talking to the mic. There we go.
I'm Nate, and
Yeah, there you go.
I am the sales department side of Radiant Media. So how that essentially works is my wonderful little face comes to you guys, and I tell you how much you need us and how much it's great for you guys to be working with us and all the fun little things we do over here.
I want you to take one big look at the bottom left corner,
I know.
Nathaniel,
That's what I've been looking at.
and then look at channel 2. You see channel
Yes.
2, CH2,
I see.
You want
Channel
to start
2.
over?
and we're just gonna keep
All
recording.
right, we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep it
But,
We're
rolling.
gonna keep going.
But yeah, just try to make your volume
You wanna
so
know what
that
sucks
it
about
it
this?
goes
Yeah,
halfway.
see how it's not going up?
You want to know what really sucks about this right
Just
here?
Angle your head. Look at the camera right there.
Yeah.
And angle your head. See there.
So every time I
there
talk,
you go. That's better.
That's
I
good.
have to do this. Plus, this is right in the way, so I can't actually even see.
You
Sometimes
can't
when my
even
thing,
see it.
yeah. So like, I have to talk really loud so I can even see a green bar.
There you go.
There we are.
Oh man, that's so nice.
You like that? That's better. What are you talking about over there?
Yeah, that's
right.
that's great.
Good.
That's better.
Good. We're getting way off the rails here. So, just for the third time, just make sure everybody got exactly what you do for us.
So I am Nate. I am a part of Radiant Media. So my beautiful, beautiful face comes down to like you guys right there, and we tell you how much you need us and how great we are to work with in terms of like all the products and services we can provide to y'all.
Cool. Okay, I just totally just headbutted the mic.
Stole my mic.
But yeah, no, this is someone we've wanted to have come down here for a little while. He's definitely got a lot of other things he's got going on, so it's nice to be able to have him come down. But what's on the agenda for you? I don't know. The next couple weeks, what do you got going on?
Well, before that, how about you tell us what you've been up to for the past couple of weeks?
So, in terms of primarily what I have been working on in the past few days, it's just mostly been college, doing some stuff for my degrees in terms of English education. I like my words. Words are good. Words mean power. And outside of the school fronts, I do work primarily selling books at Ye Olde Barnes & Noble because I love my reading. And outside of working with these fine gentlemen right here, who I've known for a long time, I do my own content primarily. Most of it has to do with media analysis and having to do mostly foreign films as well as writing and writing analysis primarily. So working on that stuff and learning programming. Programming is fun, along with model making for a possible product in the future, and book doing. So writing a book.
Quite a bit of stuff.
I like to
And
keep everything just, on the side of if you do everything and if one thing falls through, you can sort of shoot for the clouds. And I think that's sort of like an ethos at Radio Media, is trying to do everything we can to make this business the best it can be.
and tell us, obviously you don't have to go into too much detail, but what it's been like to pitch to some of these companies that you've been meeting with.
So obviously I'm not going to say who specifically for their own sakes, but when it comes to pitching primarily, the best thing you can do is just looking your best. I mean, even looking at myself, I look exceptionally tired, and that's just a product of working on finals and doing retail, which is fun. Definitely. I love doing retail during this time of the year. But Yeah, so go in there, looking the best you can be, being respectful, having a good understanding of the product. I think that's most important because if you understand the product in a way that's similar to the actual owners of the company understand it, and then you can market yourself around making what you can do the best it can be in terms of supporting what they can do. You don't feel like competition. You don't kind of feel like you don't know what you're doing, but you're just trying to get money out of these people. You like their product or you understand what value it has, and all you want to do is contribute to it. I think being an asset is better than just trying to be like, I see an opportunity, let me jump on it. I think that's like overall the ethos and sort of the idea I have behind how I want to do sales. I think that a lot of people who do sales and do it well, a lot of the times they're very good at their communication skills, but they're doing it for products they aren't necessarily the most passionate about, and it makes them money, but it doesn't provide a whole lot of fulfillment. And a lot of times these people transfer over out of sales and then kind of work on their own businesses, and they do pretty well at it, and they're happy with that. And I think working with Radiant Media, the best thing that I could say is that I like writing, I like working with video stuff, and because of that, I am doing something that I feel I'm passionate about, but also something I believe in. And everyone needs good marketing, and start putting yourself out there is, I think, the most important thing. But also, you don't have all the tools in the world necessarily to like market yourself the best, and that's what we do. We provide a service that takes a little bit of the strain off you guys, and we just want to make you guys have the best product it can be.
Sweet. I think that was great. One of the things I wanted to talk about, because I talked about it on, I think, the first or the second episode, was all of us, how we all worked for, we did some work for the axe throwing business. Jesse and I were with Radiant Media at that point. That was one of our first real clients. You actually worked for this business. And one of the things I wanted to touch on was we kind of both noticed how good of a salesman you could be, the potential you showed when we did the event at the fair. And you were coming up with all of these deals that weren't even listed, like one throw for $2 or anything that would just get a couple more bucks coming in, get people there throwing. Other people would see, through social proof that people are there having a good time and people want to come by, and it generated a snowball. And I think if you looked at the numbers, drastically more money was made the days that you were there running it, and everybody, I think, was very impressed by that. So I kind of wanted you to talk a little bit about that, see maybe get into your mind what you were thinking during that time, how you came up with those ideas, and yeah, you want to touch a little bit on that?
I think generally, like, definitely. If there's one thing I can say about the axe throwing summer, as I'll probably call it when I'm old and I maybe
Sounds
or maybe
like
not
a Taylor
have kids.
Swift song.
The axe throwing summer. The best thing that I could describe it is making the customer feel valued and make their experience the best it can be. Those are the few things that are running through my mind. So anytime I went out to an event, I always liked going there early. I wasn't driving the trailer, but I was the one who would be coaching, throwing, making sure everyone was feeling safe. And calling ahead of time, being there ahead of time, just kind of talking, being familiar with the people who were either paying me directly or were kind of overseeing things. I think the best thing was making sure that they understood I want them to have the best experience. I want to know everything that I can do, like where can I put our equipment here? Where's the truck going? Do I need to be wary of anything? How old's everyone? Stuff like that. Asking as much questions to these people so that, one, they know that I care, but also that I want to be informed, but also to the fact that I know what I'm doing. And after like an event goes down, I let people throw, have a good time. I don't want to intrude too much, being like, hey, this is how you throw, this is how you throw. There's a few things that sometimes you just got to let slide because, hey, people are having fun. And what's important too is that you don't necessarily want to step in all the time, because even if something may happen, I think it's better to be like, I will tolerate something as long as you guys are having fun and there's no just direct immediate danger. Letting people throw two axes, like one right after the other, something could happen. Never usually happens. Never did happen. And that's because, like, hey, some people just like to throw at the same time, but being on hand to be like, hey, this is how you do it like this, and you're able to do it. And specifically, when it came to marketing while you're down at the fair, I'm in this one spot far at the end. The actual location as to where people are coming in from the fair is a little ways down. So you're having people coming in and out of the actual fair itself, but also there's essentially like a little petting zoo area that was in front of where our trailer was. So people are coming out, people are coming down, and there's other people who are coming from the far side of the fair who went a different direction, and now they're coming to this side of the fair. What I had to do all the time, starting at like 10 in the morning till 10 at night, is just marketing the trailer by myself and not necessarily having customers there. So that means me casually throwing axes, getting bullseyes, doing like 1, 2, 3, 4 axes at the same time, just walking down our lanes, throw 1, throw 2, throw 3, throw 4. It shows 1, I'm competent at what I do, and 2, I'm safe at what I do because I'm not hurting myself, and it lets people be like, oh wow, this guy knows what he's doing. I want to do a few throws. And then, like you said, when it came to pricing, we had our prices set primarily where unlimited throws you could throw throughout the entire day. That was $20. 5 throws gave you 10. It was primarily our model, and I think it was a good deal. And what we'd also do too was that if you came back and you want to throw more, we just give you another 10. You paid us 20, so you can throw throughout the entire day. And I think doing stuff like that was important, was because it made the customer feel like we weren't like essentially shivving them for all their money, or like being like, oh well, you're coming back, you already had your 5 throws, now we want 20 from you to throw unlimited. And because you had more people just coming in naturally because they've thrown 10, wanted to keep on throwing, so we've had them pay for 20, it let people just sort of sit there, throw, have a good time, where people would see it, watch it, and be like, oh, I want to try this. And a lot of times what we'd have is like 4 people, all who throw unlimited, just throwing, while other people are like, hey, can I do some throws? And it's times like this where you got to be like, hey, we do not have all the space right now. I understand you threw for unlimited. You mind just stepping off for a little bit? We'll get out more people throw. Everyone was good about it. I never had any issues, although we did have some cases where people just wanted to throw for free, or be like, hey, I'm going to throw an axe while this guy's not looking, which tried to happen. Always stop that, because, again, you're dealing with axes. Safety is like the highest concern, in my opinion. But when it talked about like smaller deals, some people just wanted one throw, and I can't really be like, hey, I'm letting people just do 1 throws and we're not making any money at all. Being like, hey, I'll give you like $1 for 1 throw, 2 for 5, stuff like that. Essentially making them a deal, be like, hey, I need to get something out of this. You want to get something out of this. Just work with me here, and we both walk away happy. I think that's the most important thing. From axe throwing to advertising with what we're doing here is working on a situation that leaves us both satisfied with what we're doing. And when you look at what radio media does, I think actions speak louder than words, and the work we have done speaks to not only the quality of everything that we've done, but also to the products as well that we're helping advertise.
So, yeah, Nathaniel, you've been going into these physical locations of these businesses, and I just wanted to know what it's been like for you to do that and pitch Radiant Media to them, and just like that feeling of doing that.
Outside of one instance where I'm going into a place where there isn't too much for me to do outside of being like, hey, I'm here with Radiant Media, I pitched you guys an email, I just want to follow up on a few things. A lot of times what I'm doing is these are products that I've like tried before, or places I go to regularly, so I'm able to just sort of be among the crowd, and someone comes up to me, asks how things are, and because of that, I'm not sort of like trying to be like, hey, you really want this product? I have this product, you want to like work with us? It's more like, hey, I like doing this. This is how I'm here all the time. This, that. So, like, actually, I do advertising with this company, and I'm gonna be honest, I like didn't see any marketing for this. I knew about it because of my dedication, and I think that you get a bigger pull if you were working primarily with people to advertise your stuff out more, because then you're not just getting people like me who are really diehard about something. You're getting people who are just sort of maybe curious, but they'll still pay to experience like a product. That'll be the best thing I'd say, is like just not coming across too strong, but like focusing on being a customer, but a customer who has something to offer because they care. So like it's mixing like emotion with business.
Mm-hmm.
You waiting for me to take this? You're the one that I gotta move the mic back over.
Yeah, I didn't know if you had a question for him.
No, I mean, I really haven't asked you much about the strategies that you go through. I'm just impressed that, you know, because him and I have been trying to do it for a while now, where we'll reach out to businesses, through email or through phone calls or whatever method, kind of the old tried and true methods. We're not professional salesmen of any kind, and so not hearing back can be disappointing, frustrating. What I did in one scenario, just to show some of the extent of what we've done, is I actually made a whole website for a client without them knowing I was making the website. It was more of like a demo, sort of like, here's what we can do for you type website. The business was I can say the business was Pure Watercraft, and I don't even think they know we exist, but I still love what they do. It's like a Tesla. It's like Tesla for boating. They have electronic engines, and I really do think that it's innovative, and it will be the future of boating. And it's something that I found out about because I had to do a senior project on them. It was one of those where they give you a pool of businesses to choose from. I chose them to write about, and it was a marketing analysis. I had to write about their marketing, their media. I went through all their platforms and kind of appraised them to see how good their media was and their marketing, and I thought that they could use some improvements, and specifically in their media presence. They don't really have any much media presence at all. They don't really make much content. You'll go and you'll look and you'll see there's months between content. Something that they don't really seem to prioritize. I understand putting budgeting in the product and whatnot, but at the end of the day, to actually spread the product, there's going to need to be some visibility, whether it's even getting influencers out there or whatever the case may be. There needs to be some sort of visibility. There needs to be at least an effort to get consistent content out there. And so I felt like it was a brand. I still feel like it's a brand that we could do some really great work with if they're watching. And one of the things I wanted to do for them to show the things we could do was I made them a website, and I still have it. I think it's a great website. I did some screen recording with some commentary of myself going through it, talking about the different bells and whistles that I added, and I compared it to the site they have, and I was showing them some improvements, whether it be SEO or what have you. Obviously, I didn't have their domain, so I couldn't do that, but what I sent it over. I don't even really know if they saw it. I sent it to their contact. I also sent it to the CEO through LinkedIn. I sent it to some other different people. I didn't hear back, but I don't know if it was because they saw it. I don't think they did see it, but I don't know. And at the end of the day, it's not something that I want to be upset about. Obviously, when you're doing something like this, you can't just assume you're going to hear back. You can't just assume that they're going to love it. You can't. You may think that, but they may respond and they may not be interested. They may not respond at all. They may want you to do some changes. You got to be ready to kind of go with the flow, and it's something that I'm holding on to. And if we hear from them at some point, I think we can build some awesome content with them and get them a great website going forward. So I don't even really know how I started this. I got so on the train with them.
But I think it's an interesting concept that people get a lot of value out of. Is what's the amount of work that you should do up front so that you can properly show what you're capable of before you're able, or before you get to that point where you can provide an excellent offer to a company or a business. And like when we were working with Axler and Company, we did a whole month for free.
We talked a lot about that.
Which was crazy, but I think it was like it was an interesting point because you and I, Anthony, had never worked with each other before. I'd done some stuff, you did some stuff, but this is the first time that we were working together. So we felt like just to get some experience with a new business, it was the right decision to go ahead and do that free month. And then it ended up, we did a few paid months after that.
But
obviously.
You know what? We did that because we were confident in what we could do.
Right.
We were confident in our product.
Yeah. It wasn't out of weakness.
Exactly.
It was
the complete opposite.
Yeah.
It was out of complete confidence. It was out of, we know we can take this business. And again, I thought and still think it's a very innovative brand, and I think if executed properly, it can explode. It can even be the forefront of the industry in terms of mobile axe throwing, it's an industry that isn't really tapped into, and it's something that has the potential to be the forefront for. And knowing the potential that this business could hold, and knowing what you and I both knew, I have never been more confident in anything else. And that was why we came out and we said, you know what? We'll just go down there for nothing. We'll show you what we can do, and then we'll continue working there on out. And that's what happened.
I think generally also
Here,
speaking to that drive, there's a certain amount of, I guess if we're going to use a term, hunger that smaller businesses or new businesses have, or anyone who's starting a new project has. And it's that hunger because you know you can do something well. You just need to prove it. And like I said, I do writing on the side. And at the moment, I have so many stories and articles that I'm sending out to publications. And again, none of them have been published yet, or some of them are in the pipeline of actually getting to paper right now. But the thing is that you need to have the guts to not only put yourself out there, not be afraid of rejection, but also be like, this is why I do what I do so well, and why not just like you need me, but why having me here is going to make everything you do so much easier and so much better. And there's always a unique perspective that comes with smaller businesses, because you have equally a lot and little to lose, because little to lose meaning that you're a small business, you're unproven. If you don't get something, it's to be expected. You guys are starting out. But a lot to lose in the sense where if you don't get something right away, you could be treading your wheels for a long time. So because of that, you have that perfect cocktail of emotions, but also drive to do something really good. And I think that's why at the moment it's just the three of us working so hard, is because of the fact that like we believe in this and we're ready to do what we can to prove that to like larger businesses.
Yeah.
You just wait for me to come in.
It looked like
he
you
just
had
does it.
It looks like you had something to say.
I just when he's done talking, I'm just gonna bring my mic back.
But yeah, I did have a thought as you were talking, Nathaniel. I'm gonna see if I can recover what that thought was. But yeah, I thought what you said was great. That's all I got. I lost my train of thought.
No, I mean, I think I have the biggest track record of doing that to this point anyway.
I deserve at least
You do
one.
You do 100%. No, but I think you're absolutely right. And what I was touching on before in terms of making that website, to just kind of jump back to that was just, the extent that I was willing to go to with the risk of getting nothing back in return. And so I guess depending on your industry, depending on the business, where is that line for you in your industry? How far are you willing to go to deliver without with the possibility that maybe you don't get anything back? And so we've done this on two separate occasions. We did this with the axe throwing, where we did the first month for nothing, and then the parallel to that is making that website. One was a hit, one wasn't. And at the end of the day, if it goes well, then great. Then you have months of a great partnership, rapport to build, et cetera. If it doesn't, then you knew that was a possibility. You're not going to just fall over. You're not going to roll over. If it comes back up, you still have it sitting on the back burner, ready to come back up. Go, hey, I have this website. Or if it's another business, maybe in a similar industry, you can go, hey, look at what I made for this. Look at me for this company. I can do the same for you. Maybe it doesn't even have to be a similar industry, but just with websites, there's themes, there's styles. Maybe they like it. You can use it as just an example of, oh, hey, here's the work I did for this business. So there's different purposes in everything. For that specifically, it can be repurposed. But yeah, it's just what you're willing to take the hit on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I remember what I wanted to talk about. Obviously, Anthony, a couple of days ago, we were talking to another marketing agency owner, and we've got a new contract that's in the works with him, and I clapping for that as we should. But yeah, like that's somebody that I've known for a couple of years, and Anthony's gotten to know over the past 6 months, and it's been great to have that business relationship with him. He's such a nice guy.
He's a great dude.
And
awesome.
so I think it's like, I think that shows the value of great mutual rapport, because he really, I think, does a good job of, obviously he's looking out for his own best interest, but he really does a good job of looking out for our best interests as well. And so, like, even a little thing like, some people, they'll look at like a contract proposal and they'll get back to you like 2 weeks later and they're like, oh yeah, I'm kind of looking at it, but with this guy, he's like, oh, I'll get back to you guys on Monday, and he just sent me a text. And so I think it's like, that for him, it's like, he, even though he's busy with a lot of other things, he knows that if we're both working together and if we're both pursuing a goal at the same level, then more success is going to happen. And, I think it's like, it's kind of cool too, because I think this is that next step for all of us, because with Anthony being involved, and obviously with Nathaniel now too, but Nathaniel hasn't met this marketing agency owner yet. But yeah, just like with both Anthony and I, it's cool to do this, because this is the first time that I've done something monthly with him, and it's like it's
with me?
with this marketing
Oh,
agency owner that we're talking about.
That's
No, this marketing agency owner, and so it's like, because this is more of an operation now. With all three of us, it's like, I think other business owners are starting to see like, oh, like, these guys are really ready to do something that is going to create some serious success. It's not just like a one-off thing here and there.
Right.
So
right. Also, your battery's at 3%. I don't know.
Shoot.
Can we just put in a new battery?
We can just change it real quick.
Okay. All right. We're gonna scene right here.
Scene.
I didn't think you could see it from where you were at.
The benefits of that. And I think that, like, speaking more to that, obviously, since I haven't met this particular partner yet, and I'm a little bit more newer onto this team right here, but this speaks more again to, like, me working with sales. It's me having to do research on these companies and then relaying a strategy back to these two so that they sort of know, one, what it is that they're going to have to make the content around, but two, sort of like how we're going to have to plan out going to like places to do shoots, what we're going to need, budgeting, stuff like that. I think that's all important. And because of that, not only are we able to provide like an efficient machine in terms of like getting to location, shooting, getting content down the pipeline, it's because of that I think that marketing is so valuable. Like, even speaking to YouTube, although some of this is going to end up on other places anyway, the key to like big success with YouTube outside of just having good content is having a ready, like, wide stream of content. You're in an ocean essentially all the time, especially with like the age of information at this point, where you could get a trillion sources on one thing and you don't have all the time in the world to sift through all this. You're going to press on whatever you think looks the most interesting or you think is the most informative. And with marketing, we essentially cut through that for you guys by essentially making you guys at the top of any listing, any place that eyes can be on you, so that, one, you can get as much business as possible.
Right.
But like, I think also, actually,
I just keep waiting for you to jump in, and you never do.
I said right. I was about to say something.
I think
I'm sure.
I think like another thing too is that obviously, since we're all around the same age, we all grew up together. We all we all went to the same school at before high school and stuff. But we also come from a time where there is a history of how things were advertised, and sort of mixing in old with the new, I think, is important, because there is indeed an importance when it comes to the tradition of how you meet with people. And although certain traditions have kind of gone away, like there's like trends and stuff where people don't necessarily show up to businesses or meetings looking the most formal, but there is value to that. There is social capital in not only presenting yourselves in the best way possible, but also like showing off products in the best way that you can. But there is room for innovation, and speaking to myself outside of like the other projects I have already mentioned I work on, I've only just started to get into programming and model making for like a game I've wanted to do for the longest time. And during the research that I was doing for this, I originally wanted it to essentially be like this, but with this. And what I realized was that the idea that I have that I think can work isn't going to work within the confines of what's already been established. I need to figure out new ways, new strategies to make what I want to make a reality, but also to make it this killer product so that people are going to like. And I think that it speaks just to life in general, especially when it comes to marketing. Like we are right now, it's December. It hasn't snowed yet. Santa Claus hasn't come down through the chimney yet to give me my presents.
Nope.
But coming into January, a lot of businesses are going to need their things marketed throughout the entire year. We need to be on top of that. And I think that if you're working with us, we will be on top of that because we make all of this a priority so that we can work way ahead of time. Like if you saying, I've got something to do in March, we're ready in January being like, okay, this is what we can plan out. Here's what we budget out to do this. Let's go to this place here, this place here. Do you like this idea? Do you not like this idea? Can we storyboard something out? How's our writing? All of that is something that we do in advance, but also we be like, well, this has worked here. Could we do something like this? Yeah, but maybe if we've seen how things are working now, that's something we could do to change things up. Like, obviously, since we're doing stuff on YouTube too, TikTok's something that's blown up a ton. Say what you will about the app, but that short form video format has been so effective that YouTube itself introduced YouTube Shorts to compete with TikTok. And it is that digital arms race that I think speaks to the essence of marketing, because you are that sort of evolutionary soup in a way that evolves a company into staying on top and sort of being the innovators rather than a trend chaser.
Let me ask you something. Jesse asked me this question in the first podcast, and it's one of the podcast highlights that we've shown is unscripted organic content versus scripted unorganic content. What do you feel like the perks are for organic content, unscripted content, which is exactly what this is? So this versus had we recorded an ad and all that stuff you just said. What do you think the difference is for the viewer, for the consumer? What would you say is better or worse? Personally, I think this is far better, but I mean, I think we're in a rise of organic content. We're in a rise of the consumer. Really, I would say digging more into what a product is. Is it trustworthy? Is it something that I want to represent? That I want to be reflected of? Essentially, what do you think?
I think this is multi-layered in the sense where from plays to movies to video games and to marketing, there is something that a person wants, and that's authenticity. I think authenticity is important, especially when you're doing something, you're scripting, and unless you've like done your script 5, 6, 7 times and you know it down pat and you can inflect in a way that seems natural, it's never going to sound natural. People can always tell that you're reading off a script in a lot of ways. And there's always an energy where if you don't believe in a product, you're not going to output that kind of energy. People can see it in your voice. People can see it in our body language. I think that that's what's important. And with organic content, you're going off the cuff. You're speaking from the heart. You know exactly kind of how you're feeling the sort of moment. And there is that feeling that radiates onto the viewer because the viewer knows that what they're seeing is real. Then they're going to be like, oh, I really do like this. I like the energy that's being put out here. And I want to either purchase this product because I feel like I can be a part of this. And I think that speaks to also like how communities are built. If one person does something, they like it, they produce it, and other people flock to it, it is that usually that grassroots kind of, hey, check this out, this is super cool, that always gets a whole lot of success going. Whereas with a lot of things that are either not really like astroturfed or sort of top down, here's a budget, go essentially just do whatever. A lot of times in those cases, they don't get as much success because it doesn't feel artificial. It feels like you're being controlled in a way, like this is what you should like, go do this. And I think that people don't want that to be the case. people want to feel welcomed. We want community, and we want something that we can be a part of and enjoy. I think that just speaks to like a basic bit of human psychology, and I think with inorganic content, it does have its place, and it can be important, especially like you need to have some kind of structure. There needs to be scripts done in certain cases. There's not everything that's going to be able to be done off the cuff, but obviously, since you've worked in film before, you've done acting. There's speak to like how with certain actors you can think of off the top of their head, what is like one thing that an actor brought to a role that they weren't necessarily instructed to do that made like a character really like jump off the screen.
That's fascinating. Are you asking from my directing experience or just from some popular actor that I've seen?
In this case, I want two answers. I want the first answer being like from your experience as a director, and then examples of actors that you think like do this well or have done this well.
Yeah, well, I guess I can just talk about one of the times where an actor did a performance that kind of, I guess in some ways was what I wanted, but in other ways they brought something really unique to it. And so I'll say it was Joseph Perez in the film that I put out last year. He played the villain in the film that shows up toward the end of it. And I wanted him to be this sort of like charismatic, like likable guy, because that's what he is, but also this guy who has this kind of sleuthing desire to do something that's like mischievous. And I think it's like that's something that is tough to like pull off in a believable way. Like that's what we're just kind of talking about. Like, how do you make something believable, and how do you make it seem like, you know, that you can almost trust this person even if they're, you know, doing something that is mischievous. And I think like that's something that this guy did really well, is that he was like likable, but also like he kind of like you could kind of tell that he was up to no good, but I think the way that he pulled it off, he was like still likable in that way. Like even though you knew that he was like kind of trying to manipulate you in a way, it was like you were so like kind of swarmed with like his sort of charisma. So I think it's like that's something that is like tough to exactly instruct. The actor kind of needs to like find that within themselves, I think, especially for a villainous role.
Like I would say like a good example, obviously since I don't have directorial experience, and writing is a whole other thing that I could get into, but we're all familiar with Henry Cavill, obviously the newest Superman, but I think his work on The Witcher, that is really good acting for a show that has not gotten a whole lot of praise, rightly so, but it is his love of the games and the character that allows him, despite the direction he's given, to provide an authentic performance that not only speaks to the ethos of who Geralt is, but also to the expectation that fans have. Like, obviously we know that these are the lines given to Henry, but how he performs them makes you really feel like, oh, this isn't just Henry Cavill, this is Geralt. And even during the production, Henry Cavill, we knew that he was a fan, but a lot of people were like, that's not who we'd expect to see playing this character. But it was the performance that drew him in, and you could see that after we heard that he'd no longer be Geralt in later seasons, that drop-off was big, and it's primarily because of the fact of what he brought to his performance is like very special, and it's something you can't replicate with like anyone else. And even with writing, that's a little bit more like inorganic in the sense that you're doing all the scripting, but when you write from like your experience, a lot of people say like either when you're in college or if you look at stuff on like the internet, they say write what you know. And when you write what you know, you kind of can dig up certain things about yourself, but also perspectives that feel so organic in a way where when they're expressed to a character within the proper setting, within the proper context, and with good word choice, you are able to construct not only just a character, an archetype, but a fully realized three-dimensional character that feels as real as you or me and allows that immersion. to be there. And I think that's what's important, especially for like film
Mm-hmm.
and TV and stuff. But for like advertising, what we want is for you to engage with the product. That's
Mhm.
obviously important. But when we are there acting or when we're there writing these scripts, we don't want you to feel like we're just putting this out for a job. We actually go to these places, we believe in these products, and we think that this is a good place to spend your money, spend your time, and like just go about have a good life. I think everyone wants to have like a good life, but what's important is like making that feel real to the viewer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that was a fantastic kind of analysis there, and that example of Henry Cavill's character. How do you pronounce it? Geralt.
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 The normie pronunciation right there.
I've seen like one episode of that, but yeah, he's you could tell that he really loves the character, and I think it applies to everything else in the execution of a story too, because you can want to do these grand plots with all of these different elements that are interesting and complex, but I think the only way that you can really take an audience on for that journey to experience those things is to have a character that they feel like that they can relate to.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they can do it with him, maybe they can do it with like a different story, whether it's some of the biggest ones of all time, like Star Wars, or the Avengers with somebody like Tony Stark. It's like you fall in love with these characters, and then you want to see what kind of journey that they're going to go on next. Like if for example, if there was going to be a story about some guy who was in the military and made this mechanical suit that allowed him to fly, you might be pretty interested in that. Hey, that's cool. But when you know that instead of just like some random person in that suit, that it's Tony Stark, it's Robert Downey Jr. playing that character, you're like, oh, okay, now I'm totally on board. And it's because you know who that character is, and you want to see what this experience is going to do to that character, because you've kind of made that relationship with them, even though they're not your real friend. They're somebody that you're seeing on screen.
I think also to give that mic back to me, it's like Scorpion, get over here.
I'll just hang out over here.
Yeah, you sit right there. I think too, a lot of times this could be a discussion of writing in and of itself for like a whole other episode, but a lot of times I think a lot of people focus nowadays on how can you identify with this character in every which way possible. Like I specifically, like if you look at me, I don't look like the genius billionaire playboy philanthropist that Tony Stark is, but I know what it feels like to be like super confident about something that you do. I know what it feels like to be put in a tight situation. I know what it feels like to lose friends. I know what it feels like to have a kind of responsibility, and through that responsibility, change and sort of the growing pains that come with that. And we could go on for hours about like where the MCU has gone since Iron Man 1 up to now. But I think that there are certain qualities that you can have with your writing that allow people not necessarily to see themselves in a character in every way possible, but a small spark of something that allows you to be like, I know what that's like. I've been through that. Obviously, for my own example, these two haven't seen it, and this is my bread and butter. For big movie right now, Godzilla -1. The best thing that everyone's been talking about it is that it's a amazing character study and like an amazing character driven movie that has to do with monsters. Like no one was coming into this film thinking, oh, I'm gonna like see an amazing drama and identify with these characters. You're there for the monster. And there's so many small lines of dialogue, which if you don't know Japanese, you may not understand it. And you're obviously getting translations, which are gonna have some differences based on cultural context. But the word choice, it speaks to experiences that you may have had, and probably may not have, but could understand why this character is feeling this sort of way. And you're talking about a movie that, although made in 2023, is documenting characters from the 40s and putting them in this extraordinary situation that won't ever happen. But it makes it feel real, and that's what's amazing about it. And that speaks to not only how good of a film this is, but also like the groundbreaking success. You could look up right now how well this film's doing or what barriers is broken through, but that is what's important. I think not just about like inorganic content where you can get small snippets of what actors do and makes them bring their characters to life, but the inorganic, more scripted content and how that can work as sort of the skeleton for those little human moments to build off and make something feel like powerful in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can get the mic.
Yeah.
Well,
What are your thoughts on this, Anthony?
I mean, what I was gonna jump in on was when we were talking about the first Iron Man and what maybe not a lot of people know.
Didn't we all see that together?
Yeah,
I think we did.
we all did.
We did.
Yeah, that was.
You know
that was
what?
a good time.
I completely forgot about that. You just brought that up. We did, and yeah, that came out in 2008, right?
Yep.
That was a good.
What
times.
grade were we in? Was that fourth grade?
We were all like 9 at the time. So,
Yeah, well, we were 9.
so
Yeah, I think it was around
So
fourth grade.
whatever, I don't know,
Yeah,
fourth,
fourth.
fifth grade.
Yeah.
But one thing I want to touch on that is I had to do a report through Harvard Business Journal. There's a case study about that movie because that was the first movie of the MCU, or the Marvel Studios. They had to that budget was so tight, and they had to cut so many costs that are normally like just necessity luxury costs for other studios to get that movie to the level they wanted it to get to the production standard. And so much is like, I mean, I'm talking to the level of like not having I think it was like to the level of like not having a coffee maker, not like normal things that would be in office room. They would, as soon as they were done filming somewhere, they'd take everything out. Or it was, I don't remember exactly. I did the report like 2 or 3 years ago, probably longer at this point. But it was just the way they cut costs. I just found really interesting, and everything. I mean, you want to talk about pressure? If that didn't pan out, that's it. There's none of these Marvel movies that have come out since, they wouldn't exist. Because it was all on the line. Everything was on the line. They were using their last pennies to make this Iron Man movie. And you think about the focal point of the movie, the star Robert Downey Jr., who he had a troubled past, and he went through speed bumps, and now here he is representing this company who was on their last legs, who lost Spider-Man to Sony, and they were just the last pennies of what they got from the money from Sony for buying Spider-Man, and this was their last breath, and it needed to be a hit, and they used every penny into this. They weren't even spending money on the coffee makers, and they generated a movie that I don't know exactly what it generated, but I know they did pretty dang good.
Right.
And not to be a broken record, but again, I mean, you want to talk about pressure. It was all or nothing for them, and I just find it kind of cool to look at the arc of it and who they used. Like again, Robert Downey Jr. That was his last chance, probably, right? And so it's just like these two coming together, creating this banger of a movie. I don't know if it gets the credit it deserves now in 2023 because we're spoiled with all these Avengers movies, and to take a second and look back at basically how the road was paved.
Mm-hmm. But you guys know that the director of Iron Man and Iron Man 2 is the same director as Elf? Isn't that funny?
I didn't know that. No.
Yeah. Jon Favreau. Yeah, and is he still in the MCU? Happy Hogan?
I have no idea.
Is he? He shows up every once in a while.
Yeah, like he's really only showed up for like the Spider-Man movies at this point. But,
yeah.
Like Favreau, that's like a whole nother can of worms that we could talk about because at this point he's done Iron Man. He worked. I know he was on he did the Mandalorian, the early seasons of the Mandalorian.
I think he's the showrunner for Mandalorian.
He was the showrunner. I know he was the director. I don't think he's the showrunner anymore at this point.
Okay.
And then he did Prehistoric Planet on Apple TV, and that was done. That was entirely CG. And even then, like, that's got like a whole legacy in and of itself. Like, speaking to those three products, you have Iron Man, that we had our Spider-Mans, those were good. We had Daredevil, which was we have Blade, which is pretty good, but like that took a while for it to become a cult classic. And then you get Iron Man, and through like all of the budgeting they had to do with Iron Man, and let's not like forget the fact that Spider-Man's like, next to Batman, the most like influential superhero. Iron Man, despite him being on the Avengers, was kind of like a B, C tier character, and they were able to craft something that was not only like of its time, but also timeless. And then you speak to The Mandalorian, like, say what you will about Star Wars at this current point, you were able to, in the earlier episodes, construct a character that had like a culture with a legacy to it with the Mandalorians, but introduce someone who, for the longest time, everyone was expecting it to essentially be a discount Boba Fett. And Din Djarin, in his own right, has become one of the most iconic characters for like the new brand of Star Wars. Like, people talk about Rey, people talk about Kylo Ren, but like a show-only character essentially sharing the spotlight and like a big portion of the profits alongside your main trilogy of movies, like the next part of like the saga for Star Wars, that is it says something. And then with Prehistoric Planet as well, obviously these guys aren't big dino nerds like me, but you're talking about a production that was on a small, like not small, but like a more niche platform in Apple TV. Not everyone uses it. Most people use Netflix, so that's already one hurdle. But then you're having to deal with not only keeping things scientifically accurate, which is important for the viewers of the show, but also dealing with the legacy of like Walking with Dinosaurs, which came out in '99.
I remember that.
Yeah, that revolutionized documentaries for prehistoric animals, and the legacy of Walking with Dinosaurs has pervaded across that genre of documentaries and movies and stuff. And for a new show like this to not only feel so real, but also be as scientifically informative as a show that paved the way, speaks to the drive of the director, but also like what he can do when he's given little and when he's given a lot. Like,
He's good at building things in a cave with a box of scraps.
I remember back in the day how much we abused that phrase from Obadiah. Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a bunch of scraps. But there is that tinker kind of ethic that comes in with media creation. Like, you're not given a lot in a lot of cases, and these are usually passion projects, and it's usually like skill, luck a lot of the times, and like we've been saying throughout this podcast, drive that allows there to be like a great amount of success to come from these products. And I think that that's what I commend us for, is our drive, but also like our willingness to be as creative as possible in terms of what we do, so that like we can make the best products we can, not just because we want to make money, like money's nice, but because we care. I think that's like I've been probably saying it 4 or 5 times, and you look at the podcast, it's like, shut up, you've already said the same thing a bunch of times. But caring, I think caring for the product is, I think, what's most important.
Yeah, and you know, it's not an industry we found ourselves in because we had to, and because that was just how the chips fell. It's because this is what we want to do, this is what we're passionate about, and we take great pride in what we do. And I like we talked about before, not only take great pride, we take great confidence. But another thing I wanted to touch on, I've been thinking about it like this whole podcast, I've been wanting to get your opinion on this. Every single podcast we've talked about AI. We've touched on it at least one point or another. One that I found was the most interesting, I think, was our conversation on last week's podcast, where we talked about how AI has changed not only storytelling, but just what comes out on the screen. We've seen, I think it was that we said AI, I don't know if it exists now. Oh, it was because AI can generate videos now. That was the stem of the conversation. I think it was GPT. I don't know if it's a P. Is it a B or a P?
It's
I
a
always
P.
do. It's a P. Okay.
It's a P.
I'm never going to stop doing that. anyway, Chat GPT, I think that was it, can make videos now. We posted it on our LinkedIn, just a couple example videos that were posted. It's pretty wild.
You'll have to show me that. I still haven't been able to find where it can
Just
do
go
videos.
on our LinkedIn and look at our posts. It's there. You can't miss it.
Okay.
You would know if you used the LinkedIn.
We'll check it out.
But what I wanted to ask you is what's your opinion of that? Like how stories can be generated like that? The facilities that your average Joe is going to have, instead of how much money it would take someone else to fund to make something like that. Like, for example, animations. That's going to be a big thing. I'm sure if it can't now, it's going to be able to create animations. I mean, I guess that's technically what it's doing, but from the videos that I've seen, they kind of look like it tries to be more of like a real life replication instead of like a cartoony animation sort of thing. But I'm sure that's probably where it's going to go, or maybe even sci-fi instead, and replacing the need for CGI and all these different sort of things. You're going to have AI to be able to just do it for you. From a broad spectrum, I just would like to see what you have to say about that.
I, for one, welcome our new robot overlords. But for a more serious answer, being an artist myself, I wouldn't consider myself the most talented. There is a lot of fear from the artist community because you're spending years of your life, you're going through hardships, and you're like, finally, I can start putting myself out there, I can build a portfolio. And then AI comes onto the scene, and there is one thing that I think even media to some degree has had done a hand in this, and it's the idea of the unstoppable prototype. For you anime fans out there, and again, something these guys aren't familiar with as much, Gundam, like the idea of something that's new, hasn't been tested yet, proving just how amazing and unstoppable it is a trope common in media. And I think with AI, there's some benefits that AI has, but there's a lot of things that AI struggles with. If you look at a lot of AI art, for example, hands are the biggest thing, especially the anatomy of hands. For some reason, you'll see like AI that's got like one hand and then like a bunch of other fingers, and you're like,
yeah, it always looks super creepy.
I was thinking more about words.
Words are like, if there's one thing, having typed in ChatGPT, like stuff in ChatGPT just to see what it says.
I use it all the time.
The thing I've noticed is that it provides you with C-level material. What I mean by that is it is serviceable, but it doesn't lend itself to a voice. I think there is something hard in terms of replicating the voices and experiences of certain people. I think maybe at one point there might be enough processing power and enough information put into AI material to where you could be like, I want you to produce a script for this. It has this, and that, but done through the creative voice of this person. And I think that maybe one day that would be possible. But I think what AI needs is guiding human hands. And I think that, like, not to get uber religious or anything, but there's a sanctity to the stories that humans create. And I think that AI is a good tool, but I don't think that it will replace humans in terms of what we can do and like what we'll be able to produce. I think that ultimately in this like history of life, story of life, there's going to be a lot more interesting stories produced because of this era in time rather than stuff produced by AI, in my personal opinion. And maybe that's me being optimistic. Maybe it's me being a little spiteful because if AI keeps getting better, I'm out of a job. But I see AI as a interesting tool rather than a replacement.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. And I think the example I always come back to is, were there mathematicians before the calculator? And are there mathematicians now?
Right.
So it's like it's a tool that's going to be used. I think sometimes like when a new tech comes along, people think like, oh, it's going to replace everything. But no, it's like, even though I'm a videographer, content creator, I use AI sometimes to just, assist with the things that I'm creating. It's not like I don't have a job now because of that,
Right. Right. And something kind of what you were hinting at, and we talked about a couple episodes ago, we talk about this all the time because it seems like there's always new development every time we come on, is your example with the calculator there. it just raises your knowledge floor, really, at the end of the day. And as a species, then we're able to, obtain more knowledge just because, like you said, it's kind of a guiding hand, or we'd be the guiding hand, either or. It's raising our knowledge floor so we can obtain more information, maintain more information, and yeah. So I think we just kind of have entered a realm now where it's just gonna accelerate so much faster than, you look at years ago, just technology in general. How long was the typewriter used? How many decades was that used? A lot. It was used. I mean, I don't know when it was. I'm not going to pretend I know exactly when it was invented, but what I do know is it was used for a long time after that. And from just a visual standpoint, it doesn't really seem like it changed much. Even like the patching jobs from it, people would just use whiteout and then slotch it right back over it. Like there was never, from what I know, and I didn't live during that time, it's like it really wasn't that long ago.
You didn't?
No, not last time I checked. I mean, it was people were using them in the 80s. Like, it isn't that long ago, but
you look pretty good for someone your age.
Hey, thank you. I'll take it. But yeah, I just think I like to use that as an example of how long that lasted versus nowadays. Things are moving so fast,
I would also say myself, when I look at AI art, for example, there is indeed a lot of similarities with all of the productions I've seen, and I think that AI art will not replace the aesthetic value that certain artists bring to the table. I can't really think of one artist whose art feels similar to AI where I feel like I'd rather cheap out and use AI than just hire that person. And I think it's because of the fact that there is value in hiring people who can produce something, maybe not on a whim, but they can bring something special and unique to it because you believe in their skills. I think that similar to how back in the day with video games, you needed to have a lot more computing knowledge to create engines and then produce games. John Carmack, who famously is one of the guiding hands of creating Doom and bringing about what is the first-person shooter genre, he's gone on record saying that video game programming was harder than rocket science, and he is a rocket scientist now. So there's a little bit of value in the words he's saying there, and I think definitely. I think that probably it will allow creatives who may not have all the resources to hire certain people or do this or do that to make more serviceable products as test runs for people. And I think that'll allow them to get their foot in the door a little bit quicker. But I think that because you're able to get your foot quicker in the door, once you then have those resources, there is more on you in terms of what is to be expected of you. And I think that although AI works, I don't think that people are going to be saying this was acclaimed because of its use of AI. I think that some people will say oh, this was unique, or this is the first to really produce something with AI. But I think it's the new spider person thing, the Madam Web. I think that some AI was used in the trailers, or at least in the entire production.
I noticed that.
But I wouldn't even say that there was a whole lot special about the trailer, honestly, for myself.
Yeah.
And that, I think, speaks to the fact that AI isn't going to be replacing people anytime soon. I forget the specific quote of Dune, that famous sci-fi work, but in the story, there is no longer a reliance on machines in the way we even see them nowadays. Everything is done through the power of the human mind. And I think that there needs to be a good balance held. And I think a lot of people who are scared of AI are very against it, speak more to that idea of not giving your way to machines or allowing jobs to be taken by machines. I think that speaks more to a social issue rather than an artistic one. But I think that things like that can always get intertwined and it gets messy. But it is an important thing to discuss, I believe.
Totally.
Yeah, 100%. And I would just say we're coming to the last 5 minutes of the storage here, so I wanted to give you a chance to have any closing thoughts for your your debut on this show, which I'm sure you'll have many more appearances here, but maybe like a hybrid sort of intro to yourself, but also a kind of like your last words per se for the show.
I would say that I'm happy to be on, and I think that if you keep following us, especially like, comment, subscribe, even like comment below on the videos, give us topics. I think that there is something interesting with interacting with the community, hearing what they have to say about what you've said. And if we get like a whole lot of interaction, we may start to put that on like videos in the future, doing catch up stuff like that. I think a lot of people like that kind of community. And I think that, again, we're just three guys, just faffing about and just having the time of our lives. And
Just letting about?
I caught that too.
no, don't make it weird. Don't make it weird.
I've just never heard that word before. Faffing about. What is that?
And, you know, this is why I'm the English major here. This is why I do the sales. But
I'll look it up later.
yeah, like again, just come on the journey with us and see what
Yeah.
else we have to produce. We're definitely gonna be doing more topics, and the more of us that we get on here, I think expect more contents.
100%.
Totally.
100%.
But that's all for that. That's all she wrote.
Off to the 99.
99.
Hold on.
What?
Off to the 99. All right.
Base.